to get warm.
It's warm, but it's nice. So today is Memorial Day. We've got a special song set up for it, and I'm just a happy, thankful person today. I've got so much to be thankful for. So anyway, we'd like to start this song with service with a song called "This Is the Day," and if you'd please rise and join to bring up the spirit for Reverend Karen.
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Sing it with me. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day I didn't see yet. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, it's a day that's just mine. Higher and higher up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Can feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and higher up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goins. I'm the assistant minister here, and I'm glad that you guys came to visit us on Memorial Day weekend. So thank you guys for showing up and being here. So a lot of great things are happening. One is the announcements today is Dr. Kay Fontana will be doing a class. So it's just to save the date, and it starts in June 14th. It's going to be the Mystic Path, and more to come on that next weekend. Also want to remind everybody that today after service we have the sound healing meditation with Dr. Kay Fontana again. She's a really busy lady. And then also want to let everybody know that the thrift store will be open after service for all you shoppers, and there's a sales rack that's at half price. And then we have one more announcement with Gloria. Come on up, Gloria.
Hello, my love. How are you? Good, good. I'm so grateful to be here. So wonderful to see you guys. I am here for Projects of Love, and 4 times a year we get together to choose an organization that the church donates to. And we are this year recognizing that the givingness of God does not stop in Arizona, and we're going global this year. So I am so excited about it. And it is an honor to really shine the light on this company, on this organization, and also keeping in mind all the gifts that Reverend Karen brought to her journey as she did her work in midwifery. So today we shine a light on the Global Midwife Education Foundation. It is their vision that all people deserve access to basic health care and education. Their mission is in reducing maternal and infant mortality in rural areas of the developing world through education, providing training to doctors, nurses, and midwives, They also address basic needs, providing access to clean water and sanitation. While they provide materials and guidance, they empower the community themselves by letting them largely be responsible for the construction and the maintenance of the water and sanitation system, making it truly sustainable. So we honor them today. We're so grateful to be able to share our abundance with them. Thank you so much.
Wow, what was that? All right. So just to let everybody know what happens is that the Projects of Love, they identify these organizations, and then once a quarter, they say they do it quarterly, so they let me know, and then we cut a check for them based on our tithe from the previous quarter, and we donate that money to them. So thank you very much for the Projects of Love, and also you, Gloria, for running it. So thanks. All right, so now's the time to celebrate our Sunday service and know the truth and listen to Reverend Karen's wonderful message. So let's start with saying our vision statement. So let's say it together. We are a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the Science of Mind principles, and so it is. So just sit back, relax in this beautiful space that we call the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living, and allow the Bradford music to bring you present in this moment and open to Reverend Karen's wonderful message. Thank you.
So just take a deep breath and relax as we move within.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, no.
I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
So here in this quiet place, where the still small voice that lives and moves and has its being, that divine energy that is present in us all, is the energy that is in charge here in this moment and in every moment. And I know that this day is an impeccable idea in the mind of the divine, therefore it must unfold accordingly. I know that that presence of peace and joy, love, happiness, harmony, wisdom, clarity, that beautiful flow of the infinite energy of the universe is absolutely being made manifest in, through, and as Reverend Karen, as she provides a message for us today, through the Bradfords with the beautiful music that they sing that opens our hearts and lifts us, that everything everywhere is a part of this beauty. So I give thanks knowing that this impeccable idea of the universal flow is already unfolding exactly as it should. And together we say, and so it is. So my reading today is from In the Flow of Life by Eric Butterworth. And it's in the chapter Living Life from Within Out. Through what Teilhard de Chardin calls the unimpeachable wholeness of the universe, wherever you are and whatever may be needed, God is with you. The whole universe stands behind you to a degree equal to the full extent of the need. All you need to do to make a demonstration, or you do not need to make a demonstration. In fact, you cannot. There is no use trying to make divine law work for you, for the law is an inexorable flow. You are always in this flow. You are always in gravity, as gravity is within you. You may often do and get out of awareness of the flow, but the need is to cease doing whatever is interfering with the natural flow of your good from within. Turn your thoughts from tension and strain. Let go and let the flow of life unfold. However, we need a clearer understanding of the role of thought in consciousness. Thought itself does not create. It either places us consciously in the universal flow or it frustrates the flow. When the thought is out of synchronization with the flow of life, then, even as in anything, when anything is cut off from its source, we come to know want. When the mind is stayed on the God thought of wholeness, we are synchronized with the flow of life. When we think abundance, we are synchronized with the flow of abundance. We do not create it, nor do we start or stop the flow. We simply accept it, giving our consent to its natural flow. This is what the presence of God really is, the life of God present in us as an inexorable flow. So allow yourself to feel that flow of the divine as it moves to you and through you and operates as you. And so it is.
Being Memorial Day, let's observe a moment of silence in honor of our fallen veterans. Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of gray, for purple mountain majesties above the God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. And as we remember and honor those who have fallen, we speak a word of blessing on all who are currently serving our country. May Spirit surround and protect them and keep them safe. Amen. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Thank you, Bradfords. Wow, that was really gorgeous. Well done. Kathy, I love it when you have a song that radiates through, your own inspiration when you get on fire like that. That was a good choice for you. Thank you, and for us. Grateful for that. Good morning. Welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Karen Rice, and I'm here today on Memorial Day, where we memorialize our loved ones, and we look at all the beauty of life and the connection and the ongoingness of life. And what I want to talk about today is the way that life is always flowing. So that was a perfect reading for what needs to be said today. In fact, it was funny, as you were reading it, I was thinking, oh, that's Holmes, of course, but it's not. It's Butterworth. It's Butterworth who wrote in like perfect alignment to everything that we teach in this teaching, in the Science of Mind philosophy. So we package it all up, and we're talking about that gorgeous flow of life because I found a quote that really, really excited me. And the title of my message that came from my joy of finding this quote, the title is Flowing, no, that's the first words of the quote. The title is Live Streaming Life. Because I have this quote that's about, Holmes says, flowing in the stream or the current of aliveness. That is the living God, flowing in the current of life that is the loving God. We learn that the road to freedom lies in our intelligent use of nature's forces and laws. And so when I read that, I'm thinking of this intelligent force in the universe, this movement of life, this current. I kept thinking of the way we, in today's world, we have this relationship with live streaming, and that not only in that symbolic way are we sort of live streaming through life as we channel that grace of God and desire to move in that particular flow, but that there's something in the way that live streaming from a technological point of view is going to make sense. And I'm going to wrap it up so that it comes to be a way of, gives us a little takeaway at the end of the day. The term live streaming, it wasn't even around 40 years ago. It came to be in the early 90s or somewhere in the 90s, and it was when they were live streaming the first concert, and it had to do with the music world. But now today, that idea of live streaming as a platform, as a way of broadcasting a live event is a part of just what we do. And what's interesting is that about when the pandemic put us on lockdown in March of 2020, live streaming in those first couple of months, live streaming just bolted 300% of what it had been before lockdown. And we saw it everywhere. So every church had to figure out some way to keep their Sunday message going. And like many churches, we were right there. We knew nothing, but we followed that stream of divine consciousness that led us to the very best connections we could find. And we were able to be very consistent in delivering a Sunday message. And as a matter of fact, if you are watching from, I don't think anybody's watching from home today. If you're hearing this, you are probably not sitting in your living room watching the live stream. You would have to be watching it right now, and that would be May 25th of 2025. There must be some significance in those numbers. Those are good numbers. At about 10:20, and to be watching it live, because the whole idea of broadcasting in a live stream platform is that it's real time. But the beauty of it is that we capture the recording, and then we can archive the recording and put a link on our website that you can watch it at any time, or that individuals can sort of stumble on it while they're digging through that amazing, complex web of internet availability for how we can use the internet to feed us even in these divine ways. So it's a beautiful amalgamation of things coming together that are speaking to the idea of frequencies. There's a certain frequency, like a radio broadcast, and we, in the spiritual relationship to this idea of God's grace streaming to us or through us, we are looking to have a frequency where we are open to that flow of life, so that we are working with life rather than always trying to paddle upstream and do things the hard way. In God, there's a reason they say in God all things are possible. Not only possible, but a lot easier than we try and do things on our own. So there's this incredible way that technology has impacted even spiritual circles, but there is also that side of me that has a little resistance to it. I'm okay with technology as much as I have it all figured out. It's those things, excuse me, that I can't quite figure out that then make me less comfortable in that world of technology. So when you say it's here to stay, well, that's good news. I'm certain it has to be good news, but it also is troublesome to those of us who are not quite as pliable in taking in that kind of knowledge. The children that we are, the children and the grandchildren and the new little lives coming to the planet, no problem. They're going to have it all because this is the world they are inheriting, and the universe has this way of keeping things in perfect alignment. So they will be fine. I'm a little worried about me some days. Remember, for those of you who have been to my house for dinner, for about 2.5 years, I had played this thing. I'd been working out with Alexa, and I had a really fun night. And she said, "Hey, when I went to tell her to just go to bed now, she said to me, "Would you like to do this on a regular basis?" And she said, "I can do this or I can do that." And I said yes. And then for 2.5 years, every evening at 6:12 p.m. Right? Raise your hand if you were at my house when that happened. Yeah, a whole bunch of hands there. And we would just laugh because I talked about it all the time. I couldn't figure out how to get her to not do that anymore. And then eventually I found the app was actually on my phone and I could manually do it, but you have to sit still for about 15 minutes and figure it all out to be able to remaneuver it. So I'm not so quick to say yes to Alexa anymore about anything. But we're grateful for technology in hundreds and thousands of other ways. I just think alone of when I went when I was doing my undergraduate work, when I was in my 30s, maybe right about 40 years old, I was still in school, and I used to type my college papers. Probably most people here who went to college back in the it wasn't that long ago. We haven't had computers that long, but in the 70s and the 80s and parts of the 90s, we did not have the use of computers to help us move a paragraph around. We had to retype the whole page. And what's with those college professors that would not let you turn your homework in on that onion skin paper that was erasable? They wanted real paper. And so we liked a lot of what we can do on our phones. We love that we have access to information. I remember in those same college days, I used to have to go to the library for information, and if I was writing a research paper, you had to have abstracts that you had to ask the librarian to pull for you, and you had to wait, and if there was somebody in front of you, you had to wait longer. And so all of those things have given us a not only greater availability of information, but they've made our lives easier in so many ways. And all the other things we always have Juliana always gives us a question. We love that question, Juliana. Before the board meeting starts, we do a check-in, and Julie always asks us some interesting question that makes you think. And her question at the last board meeting was, if you had to give up all the apps on your phone and you could only keep 3, which 3 would you keep? And so some of us came pretty quickly to the 3 that we wanted to keep until we started sharing and we realized, oh no, I couldn't somebody would say another one that you hadn't thought of, like, oh yeah, I'm not willing to part with that app. So the world is yes, it's complex and it's tricky to grow into the mindset of managing all that technology, but it certainly has a payoff, and we really appreciate it here at church. I greatly appreciate doing a 6 p.m. Zoom meeting. Well, I can sit in the comfort of my sofa at home and not have to come home to a dark house and, all of those things. I can stay home and do it. New technology comes to be because somebody thinks it up. There's a comment about that. Somebody has to think up everything, and sometimes we do visioning here at the church where we want God to help us think it up. We open the field to get the highest wisdom from Spirit itself. Sometimes in a workplace, you might sit in a think tank or a brainstorming session where you get the group thought, but nonetheless, those thoughts all come from somewhere. And I do love the benefit of a group thought. I love how we collaborate and share ideas. But sometimes, if you think about, if I wanted to knit a sweater, okay, I don't knit. If I wanted to crochet a sweater, I couldn't create that in my head. There are gifted people who can truly do stuff like that, but I could go and buy a pattern or print a pattern off the internet or find a Pinterest group or something, right? There are patterns that will help us do it, but still, somebody had to think it up and write down how many stitches and what kinds of stitches and and how to construct it. And it would be the same for a house. How did they build houses before there were architects and ways to draw blueprints for things? So there's this thought process that precedes everything. And we say this all the time in New Thought, which is interesting to me. We call it New Thought. It's ancient wisdom, but we're having a new thought about it because everything we do is about having new thoughts. We want to reach for those higher thoughts, for the live streaming frequency that is purely divine. I've been reading this book by Caroline Myss, Defying Gravity. I'm almost done. And by the way, I think I'm just going to start it again once I finish it. I have enjoyed it so much. And Caroline Myss says, in exactly science of mind terms, it's lovely to see how universal our teaching is. She says, thoughts are instruments of creation, and every thought is a tool. right? And you can use those tools in whatever way you want. You can use it for creating good. You can use it for breaking through limitations, limited thinking, or you can use it for selfish reasons. But that's where you have the free will of choice in your own life. Dr. Holmes takes the very same idea, says almost the same thing. The mind, he says, is a creative center in humanity, in all of us, and the thoughts are the tools with which we work. I thought that was lovely to hear it from two different perspectives, two different schools of thought. You know, Caroline Myss is not a religious scientist, but there is that creative power in all of thought. Newness is happening all the time, and it's up to us as individuals or even as groups and as communities to be open to capture those ideas, those new thoughts, those God ideas. So sometimes we talk about, or you'll notice in quotes I choose to read, they'll talk about higher thoughts and lower thoughts. And I think that the way that I relate to that is that sometimes I'll catch something that feels absolutely heavenly, and those other times when something hellish is going through my mind, I can be guaranteed it's a lower level thought. But the idea is that we begin to notice what we think about absolutely impacts our life. And what we put into our own minds influences the trend of our thinking, the atmosphere of our thought. And I was looking for examples of this and illustrations that would help simplify it. And I was thinking about how when my children were little, I almost said still, I don't know, maybe. He loved those classic horror movies with Frankenstein or Godzilla or King Kong. He loved all those classic things. I see Rod nodding a little bit. And it was when the children were really little, they loved to climb up on his lap and be scared but safe in Daddy's arms. And I think that's a really good illustration of how sometimes we want a little thrill in our lives, but we still want to know that we're safe in the arms of this creator that created all of life. The problem for me as the mother of these little children is that after the scary movie, they never wanted to go to bed alone. Then now we got a real problem because now we've scared them from the inside out, and eventually Daddy was not going to keep holding him on their lap. But to contrast how scary things stir us in a scary way, I would say that anything that gives you pleasure that is on the opposite of that is a wonderful illustration to hone in on. I noticed just this week I was on the patio tending to my plants. By the way, Kathy Bradford, I'm still growing seeds. That they aren't thriving. I will admit they're not thriving, but I got some pretty good-sized radishes that I'm going to eat pretty soon, right? And I love working with the potting plants and the soil and deadheading the blooming flowers. And right now everything wants more water than it did just a few weeks ago. And so when I came in from working outside, I was hot and my hands were really dirty, and I was standing over the sink washing my hands and cleaning the dirt out, the soil out from under my fingernails, and I just felt good. It's like I recognized, even as I was gardening and playing with interacting with the plants in my patio, that there comes with that a spaciousness of thought that is now connected to something in nature. And now those God thoughts more easily, I'm at a frequency where those God thoughts can move through me with greater ease. So yes, our thoughts are instruments of creation, and we are always participating. Holmes used to use the term, pay attention to the atmosphere of your thought, or there's a whole bunch of quotes where he talks about the sum total of your thought, which gives me that way of looking like, okay, so I know I'm on it, but have the little subtle troublesome thoughts outnumbered the radiant God thoughts. You know, where am I in the sum total of my thinking this day? And I think that's where spiritual practice really benefits us. So in this way, all of us are live streaming all the time based on whatever we're encountering, whatever's going on in the world around us, how we manage what we see or what we think we see going on in the world around us. In this teaching is born of that idea that thoughts are things, and that as we change our thinking, we change our lives. Right, Jillian? I didn't even have to, even before I said right, Jillian, she was nodding her head really big because I'm starting to hear her say that a lot, which is cool because she's taken a few classes and now it's showing up in every element of her life. And so what that means is that as we pay attention to how and what we're thinking, and we feed ourselves some spiritual truths on a regular basis, just like we try and eat on a regular basis, then the circumstances and the conditions of our life begin to reflect those changes that we've had in our thinking. We got neuroscience. Neuroscience. We have all this evidence now. There are, oh boy, there probably are thousands. There are probably tens of thousands of books that have been published from the studies they've done in neuroscience. And here's what I want you to know. This is my bottom line takeaway. These are not my words. These are the words of Gregg Braden, whom I respect. Sacred technology is wired in every human cell. Yeah. It couldn't be any other way. Sacred technology is wired into every human cell, so our thoughts are in constant communication with our physical body, right? And with everything else. I'm in a bad mood. My dog knows I'm in a bad mood, right? It's an energetic vibration, and on some scale, we cannot deny that. And so, he's not a doctor. Gregg Braden, I don't know, maybe he is. Is he? I don't know. But he is a prolific author, well-published, and he just in January published a brand new book that I have not even heard of yet. I read about it on the Minister's Listserv, and the name of the book is Pure Human, The Hidden Truth of Our Divinity. This is why I love Braden. Braden dares to talk about the divine matrix and the the divine matrix and the fractal time, the spontaneous healing of belief. When you have those spontaneous healings in your belief, it does something that heals your body as well, that heals your relationships as well. It's all connected. Here is an excerpt from Braden's new book. The human body holds an innate divine intelligence that is superior to any algorithm. Catch that. It is superior, it is more powerful than any artificial intelligence. This new book is the way that Gregg Braden is addressing what's happening in the world with technology and how much we are all exposed to AI, to artificial intelligence. And he wrote this book at such a good time because the reality is there's a lot of fear around artificial intelligence taking over and being a detriment to humanity. And he is here to suggest, and I absolutely have been waiting for somebody to agree with me. I'm so happy it was him. That he is here to say that everything we're going through in the world and all of these amazing ideas that individuals are thinking up have a place in today's world. And we don't have to understand it, but it's very helpful if we do not resist it. That we recognize who and what we know is our source of good, the power in the universe, and the greatest force of all in the universe is God's love, of course. It is love itself. So Braden is addressing the future of technology in relationship to AI and saying that, the universe that we live in is always advancing. That will never not be true. That will always be true. And so when you look at the wholeness of all of life, what you begin to see is that there's this constant expansion of what's possible. And yes, we might be dragging our feet. Some things scare us, nobody really loves to jump into change unless it's something you're trying to change. But the point, right? Am I right? My mom would move the furniture around and my dad would get so mad. Really? Again? I got to figure out this new place for my recliner? So Greg Braden is just saying the old thing he's always said, that there's a divine blueprint in each and every one of us, right? There's something that's absolutely pure spirit about who we are and how we're made, and that we have intuitive gifts that are simply waiting to be tapped into. And I think it's probably even more than waiting. I think that they're getting ripe. I think that life is getting ripe for us to notice there are other ways of thinking about all the things that are happening in our lives. And not only that, but he comments also about those natural forces in the universe and the way God's laws are constantly flowing. So he proposes that the rise of AI on the planet at this time is a call for us to remember the things that are already ours, to remember our creativity. We're going to have to call on it a lot more if you're going to. Everybody in the world is doing ChatGPT. I try and play with ChatGPT and it won't say it quite like I want it said. It's frustrating for me. But there's a way we want to call on our creativity that we have never called on our creativity before. And the same is true of our empathy. There is a way we are being called to touch compassion in a way that we have never done it before. So whatever way you have always showed up to demonstrate compassion in your own being, what I'm saying to you is now there's more. There's something slightly different than the way we've been doing it all this time. We don't know what that is yet. There's that intuition. He's saying that there's a way for us to now really learn to depend and rely on and turn to our own inner wisdom that we have called intuition. And he's also asking us to remember our capacity to rise above limitations. He is saying we can use AI to rise above all of it. But it is an invitation for us to then focus more on our own creativity, our own empathy, our intuition, and our ability, this way we are so perfectly made to rise above our limitations. Because as technology does more and more for us, we are more free to explore these divine gifts that have already been given to us. That shakes me up a little bit because I've been feeling and intuiting these things, but now here he's putting it in print. He's got the logic behind it, and at the same time as he's saying that all of that is true, that we have to start looking at a new way we understand what we used to think was logical or reasonable. And here's the big line that I wanted to say today. We are learning that there is a sacred technology that is wired in every cell of our body. Right? Said it earlier. I'm going to say it again, and I'm probably going to say it again. Now, the interesting, almost an irony for me, is that these are the same things that Dr. Ernest Holmes has been saying he hasn't been on the planet since 1960, but we have been reading and preaching and looking at these ideas for more than 100 years, and And these are, and it's probably not an accident because he looked to package up universal truths that they will never be outdated. We're just getting the scientific proof to back up what we've been preaching. And so in the book, I can't wait till you get there, Reverend Clyde. In the book, Living the Science of Mind, that Reverend Clyde does on Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. on Zoom. You can watch it on technology from your living room. And if you let him know you're going to be there, he'll tell you ahead what to study. Did I just make that up or is that true? It's on the website. You can look on the website and find that out. And in addition to Reverend Clyde's Wednesday group, Dr. Kay Fontana will be teaching a class on mysticism that is starting soon. There's a sign-up sheet out there, and everything I'm saying in the talk this morning will be in that class from a slightly different angle because they are using, it's a certificated class, a CSL certificated class, and they are using Wayne Teasdale's book, The Mystical Path, The Mystic Heart. And what really is interesting to me is that is the book title that Diane Carter's group does as also is it a Zoom, Kathy Rose, is it Zoom or is it phone? It's Zoom? And they will be using that same book. Do you think this is a coincidence? This is the divine frequency that we as a conglomeration of souls have been called to look at. If you read Defying Gravity and Wayne Teasdale and Greg Braden, I'm telling you, the world will change as we begin to open ourselves to these possibilities of touching what has been called mystical, but we're not talking about magic. We're talking about live streaming spirit itself. The Almighty Spirit, the creator of all of life, we are talking about finding that frequency. And so in that book that Reverend Clyde is using on Wednesday, there's a whole chapter called You Are a Spiritual Broadcasting Station. You are. How long ago? Do we even know when that book was published, Clyde? We don't even know. And some of the writings in that book are older than the publication date, obviously. But you are a spiritual broadcasting station, he's telling you. And that is such a really good chapter in that book. Here's a sentence from it. We are all broadcasting stations. Our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions, our faiths and our fears all make an imprint on our environment. This is right out of our teaching. This is right from the founders, whatever ideas he tapped into. But he goes on to talk about in that same chapter that we are not only broadcasting, but we are also receiving. And so then he gives this example, and he says, so what that means is that you're thinking, we're always thinking, oh boy, can we be thinking? I can't even imagine all the weird thoughts that are going on in this room right now while I give you a chance to think for a minute. But he says you walk into a room, and when you walk into that room, you bring with you all of your thoughts, whether they're good or bad or ugly, scary, happy, none of it matters. You carry it with you, and you are broadcasting that out into your own environment everywhere you go, and so is everybody else, which means you are broadcasting, but you are also receiving, and that means when you step into that same room, you are stepping into sort of a slush of everybody else's thoughts. It's like we can be really, really bombarded. But here's the part I never want to acknowledge. Here is where we find it difficult to be accountable. When you are picking up on somebody else's negativity, it's important for you to realize that there is a frequency that you are tuned into, and you can change the channel if you don't like what you're getting. Thank you. I didn't make it up. I just get excited when I read stuff like this. Holmes says there's a matching energy in your own mind, and if you didn't have it, it wouldn't bother you. And so when we are triggered, what we could do is wonder what inside of me is that same energy, because you won't think it's the same. It'll feel different. It'll feel even like disagreement sometimes. I want to read to you from the book the way he worded it all those years ago, many decades. If a person's mind is filled with animosity and resentment, people will feel it. Right? It's an energy, you can't help it, you bring it. Whether or not you say a word, people will feel it. This animosity arouses within others who have some sort of animosity or resentment in them. His thoughts tune into their thoughts, and their thoughts immediately respond, flowing back to him, and one accentuates the other. That's what happens when we get tangled up with each other. On the other hand, this is where it gets good. On the other hand, if you are surrounded by people who have animosity and resentment, but you have none, you will not tune in. Their vibration bypasses you, and their antagonism does not arouse an equal antagonism in you because you are not broadcasting on the same mental wavelength. You're tuned in to a higher vibration. This is why we have such a profound emphasis in this teaching on spiritual practice. When I sit in the morning and have my spiritual practice, I'm working on getting in tune with the divine so it's safe for me to walk out the door and not feel like I'm bombarded by everybody else's energy. Right? You're cleaning up your own stuff, but you are really lifting, your own vibration is lifted. Right? It's rising as we do these things. So stop it. I kept thinking of that old Bob Newhart skit. I know some of you are already laughing because you know the skit. It's like he's a counselor. Remember, he was a therapist. And a lady comes to him for counseling, and he goes, "What's the problem?" And she goes, I'm terrified that I'm gonna be buried in a box while I'm still alive." And he goes, "Well, stop it." And she goes, "Well, I can't stop thinking about it. I'm obsessed with it. I keep thinking I'm gonna be buried in a box while I'm alive." And then he goes, "Well, stop it." And he starts yelling at her, And so sometimes I think life is like that. I got something going on in my head. It's like, stop it. Right? It's just I do a little Bob Newhart there. I bet you can Google that skit and just watch the whole thing. It's hysterical. We did it. We used to have an annual talent show here, and one year I wrote down the lines, and I think it was Cheryl Copper that played. I forget who. It was Jane. She did it with Jane. Jane and Cheryl did the whole skit right up here. It was fun. So when you hear it and you notice it, and your frequency is off, or you're having a hard day, stop it. Right? Change your frequency or just go with it. Those are the days where I don't feel the power to stop it because I'm trying to trust in my own power instead of a higher power. Then I think those are the days that it's best just to go to bed and pull the covers over your head till you feel better so you do no harm. That's my philosophy. When we follow that natural flow, that God force, tuned in to that frequency, things go better. Now, I want to tell you, Caroline Myss from Defying Gravity has the same theory about what's happening in the world, but she doesn't refer it exactly to AI. I like that he did. I needed to hear that personally. But Caroline Myss takes it in a broader way, and she said that the chaos that we're living in right now is the very thing that is pushing us to step up. Now, I could remind you I've been saying that for a few years now, but I like it when somebody with more authority than me backs me up, right? So we want to wake up to the fact that there is a deeper sacred truth that is being revealed on this planet in these times. Every thought is an energy, and the God thought is always that vibrationally higher level of communication. That's why people use prayer for healing. right? Because that prayer thought, that higher thought, looks at life in its wholeness, not in its brokenness. And so Caroline Myss took that idea of that live streaming force, that movement, that divine vibration in the universe, and she said that that is the energy of God's grace. It is time for us to redefine what we have believed God's grace is. There is a new way of understanding it. There is a rising in our consciousness that is inviting us to see it from a broader perspective. She says that what's happening on the planet right now, and this is the substance of what I'm trying to communicate today. What's happening on the planet right now is that we are waking up to that mystical intelligence that rises above logic and reasoning. See, everything in our world for a few hundred years now has been based on the value of logic and reasoning. And then we get a search engine in our computer, and then we believe that Jeeves has all the answers, and he's right. We look up facts and we can prove it because we found it and we know the source. So we have these facts and we reason and we have logic, but we don't understand that our brain is just looking to please us. So what you logic will be different than what I reason and logic. Mine, of course, will be right. But you know what I'm saying here. We are learning to reason in a new way. And remember that grace always shows us. The thing about God's grace is that grace always shows us that all life is sacred. If you can't see the presence of God in another human being because something that's going on has triggered something in you, just know that there is another way of looking at whatever it is that's going on that will open us to that movement of grace to where we can see the sacredness of life. It's a shift in consciousness that this planet has never experienced quite like it is experiencing right now. And I just want to say, if none of this makes sense to you, or if you're just not sure what, because it is confusing times we're living in, if it doesn't resonate for you as a firm truth, or you don't understand it, or you have a lot of questions, then be okay with that. I'm not trying to convince you to believe the way I believe. I'm trying to suggest that there are lots of ways and we can look at it. Dr. Holmes said, each one of us must work out our own method. Right? We can all take this, and we do. We all take the same teaching, and we have different ways we interpret it and apply it in our own lives. The Course in Miracles says, all beliefs that lead to progress should be honored. See, this is what we're always aiming to do a little bit better here in this community. It's why we affirm I don't think we did that today. It's why did we? Why we affirm that we honor all paths to God. Because there are a lot of ways of looking at things. And I just want to close with this one thought. I adore Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. Thank you, Sue, for starting with that quote. I've been studying Teilhard for many years now. Teilhard, however, had a best friend, and her name was Ida. Gosh, this feels important. And there are books that are being published in current time about the letters that they have found, because Teilhard was a prolific writer and he loved to have communication with all of his loved ones and his dear friends. And Ida was one of his best friends. And he and Ida wrote lots of letters back and forth, and they argued. And they argued about all these ideas that we're talking about today. And remember that Teilhard was a priest, a spiritual man devoted to religious study, But he also was a paleontologist, and he understood that in God's time, things happen slowly. Right? He studied the history of the planet and the way humanity has changed over thousands and thousands of years. But Ida was a mover and a shaker, and Ida lived in the present moment. And if Ida was alive today, she would be probably a really a mover and a shaker in social activism. She was very hands-on and did the work she knew she was supposed to do. But boy, those two never agreed on how to approach these things. Teilhard believed that he could see the direction that the consciousness of humanity was headed, because he understood the evolutionary process, the way the earth has changed, and he studied the way humanity has changed, and he had great hope for the future. And his idea was that the more we lean into the idea of God as love, the more we come together in that essence of love, that's how things heal, that's how we mend, that's how we bond and get intertwined in healthier ways. But Ida was always, no, that's not it. You gotta get in it. You gotta roll your sleeves up. So I see her kind of Mother Teresa involved. But here's what she said. She said to Teilhard, you are always looking at the future. You are always looking at shaping the world through these ideas of humanity evolving. And she said, whereas you are doing that, I am busy caring for the present. They never agreed. And I love that. Because there are lots of arguments about how involved we should be and how do spiritual leaders present things to spiritual communities where you have conservatives and liberals sitting in the same room and different ideas. And I don't even think it's really all that clear-cut anymore. I think everything is spilling into everything else, and it feels so complicated. But what I want to say is I think it's time for us to quit thinking that we need agreement. And instead, it's time for us to personally pay attention to what we have been called to do as individuals. Can you hold this space in consciousness for what you know is right for you, and yet it might not be the same thing that's right for anybody else? So we remember, we are live streaming all the time. I remember that we are flowing in that stream or that current of aliveness that Holmes said, that aliveness is the living God, and that road to freedom lies in our intelligent use of the forces that nature has already delivered. God's grace is live streaming right now, but in every moment. Let us be really good at receiving, for I believe that the power of love itself is paving the way for us to do this. And that's what needed to be said today. Take a breath. Take a holy breath of life and let us just come together in knowing that the grace of God is live streamed into this room, into our beings, expressing through us and as us. Whether or not we come together in geographical location or we are listening to the same words that have been listened to before, I feel the love of God, and I know that it is indeed the activity of life. And it is the greatest unifying force in the universe. And as I feel the movement of that love in my own being, it is wonderful to realize that it is so much more, that it is the activity of life demonstrating in newness, providing ideas everywhere, beyond instructions on how to knit or crochet a sweater. There is that ability to intuit the details of any project we might take on. And so we listen to that voice. We pay attention to the frequency that we are attuned to. And we seek to know the oneness with that fine vibration of spirit itself, the energy of love, the movement of goodness, the outpicturing of abundance as we align our thoughts to recognize there is no limitation to the goodness of God, to the givingness of God. And so we stand and embrace this idea that we know who and whose we are, that God is our source, that Spirit itself is the creator of all of life, and that this wisdom, this infinite intelligence of all creation continues to create, continues to be the giver of grace, the sustainer of life. And so as we allow ourselves to step into this higher vibration, to rise in that way, that we allow those things that inspire us to be the very same things that help to heal us. We recognize that for every problem there is a divine solution, and that we have been given this amazing gift to overcome any obstacle, to rise above any sense of limitation, to know that even in the expression of our finances and the movement of the energy of money in our lives, that there is no limit, that there is just a flow, just a continual way in which the goodness of life, the kindness, the light and the love of Spirit itself is healing our bodies, our physical being, is healing our relationships, is healing what appears to be broken on the planet. And in that moment of rising, we can step back and we can recognize that creativity is alive. It is alive and well in us, and it is alive and well on this planet. And so we fear not. We stand firmly in knowing that in God all things are possible, and the wisdom of this universe knows how to use technology in a positive way that will enhance the well-being of all life, not just humanity, but all life, this gorgeous planet included. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, infinite Spirit. How good it is to know again all is well. And I release these words into that dynamic law, knowing it is already done. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Amen.
Grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful. Grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected shining back to me.
All right. Thank you, Bradford. We are grateful. Just want to remind everybody that we have call to prayer right after service. So if you'd like to pray with a minister, not a practitioner, we have one, and we have a practitioner up here as well. But we have call to prayer right after service. And again, we're going to have the beautiful healing singing bowls after the service as well. So get a snack and come back in here and get comfortable, and we'll do it. You can also complete a prayer request and drop it in the box back there. And those prayer requests that go in the box are confidential, and it goes out to the Ministry of Prayer, which is all the practitioners and the ministers. And then we pray and know the truth with you and for you. So now's the time to celebrate the abundance of our lives and the abundance of our community. So let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Sing it. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. And sing it. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. It feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. One more time. Oh, it feels so good to be alive.
Hey! All right, so let's say a closing affirmation. Repeat after me. The creativity of life is streaming through me. And I am a spiritual broadcasting station. And so it is.
Oh,